some of the benefits and changes of overcoming lust. Let's have a celebratory drink. It's probably not the best thing to drink, to be honest, but it's definitely not a product placement, but sugar-free Coke. So the benefits of overcoming lust and watching Korn, releasing your energy to those sort of things. You know, I've been doing that stuff since I was young. I'm 30 now, about to turn 31 in a few months. But when I first had awareness of this stuff, of watching, like, not watching Korn obviously when I was young, but I remember the first time I saw the image of a naked woman on the back of a magazine. It was like a gaming magazine or something, and it was like a little thumbnail picture. And I remember that was enough for me to I wouldn't say get hooked, but to get into that cycle of, wow, look at that. And the whole idea of pleasuring oneself to an image. And the reason I'm open about it is because I think a lot of men will resonate with this, is that, and then you get older, phones come in, kids at school, you know, bringing phones in, and then they're flashing and showing videos of content which is a bit foreign to you, and then you go home and you check it out yourself, and then you're into the world of watching that stuff and releasing your energy at an early age. Some people think it's normal, some people don't think it's a good thing. But what I found, what was really interesting, was that I actually did have a few friends who never really got into it, you know, never watched Korn or anything like that. They just had natural, open friendships and socializing with girls, and at a very young age. But for me, I didn't really have that. I was very shy as a kid, and I'm not sure which one came first, like in terms of the shyness or the Korn or whatnot. But you know, I think if you're watching this video, you know, you have probably come to this same awareness that letting go of Korn and watching that stuff, and you feel a deeper sense of peace within yourself, not just spiritually, but your body and your physiology starts to change and adapt to not doing that stuff, to not watching that stuff and not releasing your energy. And that was the first immediate benefit, you know. And I still remember actually when I was in school, we went on a camping trip. And of course I wasn't aware of this stuff when I was younger, but when you're watching that stuff when you're young, and then you go on a camp where you're not allowed to use your phone or anything, and the circumstances are not going to permit you to be looking at that stuff and, you know, doing that. I just had this newfound energy. I was more energetic. I had a sense of power within my own self that was compounded. And then I forgot about it. I thought it was just because I was away from my phone and the computer and playing games and stuff like that, you know, on the computer. Call of Duty, things like that, back in the day. But then I only in the past few years, when I've really let go of Korn and that consumption of that, and learning to be more open with people, and not just women, but with everyone, just being kind, not judging people, trying not to judge, and really trying to be in the energy of just being content and accepting yourself without judgment, and the freedom of that, and also the freedom of accepting others without judgment. And I think that's another benefit that comes when you let go of Korn and things like that. Because for me, I felt it always fed an insecurity, and I couldn't understand why. But I think if you're watching that sort of content online, it feeds your insecurities about not looking good or not being good enough in the bedroom, which all these things don't matter in life. You know, the truth is that when you meet the right soulmates or people that you're meant to be with, whoever it is that is meant for you, you're just going to click. It's just going to be the right dynamic for you guys and for whatever it's meant to be. But the thing with Korn is that it paints this picture that it has to be a certain way. It has to you know, look like this, when in fact, from my experience, it's a different reality. It's not even anything to do with um, like the reality that I try to put out in online corn and stuff like that. So once I released the addictive habit of watching that stuff and edging, makes you burp. Um, it's like your brain, honestly, you go into a bit of a flat line, to be honest. I felt like, I wouldn't say I had depression, but it felt like a little bit of a low, you know. But I just knew internally, my intuition was saying, you have to keep going with this. Just keep going with it, because you know that watching that stuff is not a good use of your energy, and it's just not healthy. And but at the same time, is that if I did go back into it, if I watched something, because it was a process, guys. It wasn't like, okay, I'm just done and I cut it out and I was done for the rest of my life. That's not what happened. But when I got back, you know, I would be focused on retaining my energy, not looking at this stuff online. But then I would have an urge that was so strong, you know. I was like, how can I overcome this? And I would succumb, you know, and I would watch it, but I would do it consciously. But what I noticed that over time, just through my effort of wanting to retain over time and not watch this stuff over time, the less stimulation you need from outside of you. And so it was kind of like a cycle that was repeating, but the intensity of the external stimulation I needed was getting less and less. And then over time, I realized, oh my God, I'm actually transcending this stuff. And I think that's how a lot of men on this journey overcome this stuff. It's a process. And it's almost like you surrender to just your destiny and what you just do the best you can, you know, and that's all we can do in life, you know, and just being kind to yourself, not judging yourself. But at the same time, when you have that innate wisdom nudging you in a certain direction to be free from this stuff, and then life brings in new experiences, because you're not desensitized to life anymore, you're more sensitive to life, in my opinion, because your dopamine receptors are resetting. You can look at it from a physiological standpoint or from a spiritual standpoint, but spiritually you're more open, in my opinion. And I think that's where the greatest benefit was, where I could feel more at peace within myself, connected with not just women, but all people on a more innocent, light-hearted sort of way. And not be driven by that nature within us that is seeking an end result with a girl or a woman or whatnot. And I think the greatest benefit is that everyone will actually have to find out the benefits for themselves. It brings out your own individuality. And what I mean by that for me is that I just feel more at peace, more calm. And if I see people who are, you know, giving me the lustful eyes, or, you know, people wanting me to pursue them or whatnot, I can see that and I just accept it without judgment, you know. And the reason I want to make this video is because if it becomes too serious for you, like you're counting the days, and if you relapse, you're a failure, or if you failed, it's not that serious, you know. The fact is that if you're even aware of things like retention and letting go of corn and wanting to be free from that stuff because you know it's not beneficial to you, you're going to be free from it, you know. Let's be honest. So, you know, everyone has their own journey that we have to navigate with this stuff. And all I can say is that if my video confirms for you realizations to continue on this path, then that's awesome. And I just want to be lighthearted with this. I don't want to come on the video and on here and tell you guys that if you do this, then, you know, it's all that's going to do is build up resistance. And I hate to say it, If you relapse, you relapse. If you go out and seek pleasure, you do it. It's not a big deal. I've just found in my own life that through going through that cycle, I authentically and organically realize that it doesn't feel good anymore to do that. It felt way better to stay in myself and be at peace and content and enjoy the small things in life as opposed to chasing things outside of you. Which ironically, when you chase it outside of you, you can't actually, it's very hard to enjoy the experience from my point of view. That was my experience. But when you allow things to come to you because you're already in a state of wholeness and peace, which is we're already whole and complete, just being ourselves, you're open to life, but you're no longer chasing it outside of you. And I think that's the greatest benefit, is just being connected to yourself. And such a beautiful moment, even now. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy that video. It was a little bit of a different vibe today. I just thought I'd come on and just be a little bit more chill with this stuff. And I hope the message helps you guys. So I'll see you in another video.